Hey, it's Kethran, and this is another Dwarf Fortress tips video. Now, you may well recognise this screen. This is the screen where you choose where your fortress is going to be based. But the subject of this video isn't about choosing your location, but it's about what you take with you. So I'm just going to click somewhere, doesn't really matter where, because basically we're not, that doesn't matter for this video. So I'll just hit there. Heavy aquifer, may be difficult to obtain stone here. I don't care. Now, obviously, if we choose play now, we've got a set amount of gear we'll bring with us, but that's not relevant for this video. What is relevant is when you're choosing your own equipment and what you can do to actually get more bang for your buck, so to speak. So prepare for your journey carefully, and we're looking at items now. You have a certain amount of points left. You have a certain amount of things that you've got by default. Now, let's actually start at the bottom of this list, because this is the easy stuff. You've got step ladders, wheelbarrow, crutches, and splints. Now, the splints and the crutches, you can make, also actually under this category you've got buckets as well, but you can make a very minimal gain for all of these, because each one of these is built in a carpenter's workshop, something you're going to be almost certainly building straight, one of your first things you're going to be building once you set up wherever you're going to set up, because that's the only way to make beds for your dwarves, if nothing else. Now the thing is each bucket, each splint, each crutch is 10 points. So you see, if I take this down to 2, our number of points available has gone up by 10. So we can actually, if we get rid of 3 crutches, 3 splints, 3 buckets, then that is 90 points. If you click on wood and pick any wood, all woods note are 3 points. So my piece of advice when it comes to picking wood is always pick nether cap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 by 3, 27 points of wood is enough, if you've got a carpenter shop, to make you 3 splints, 3 buckets, and 3 crutches. But look now, we've got almost, over 60 points extra to play with. So that's actually a big saving, but you can do better than that. You've got a wheelbarrow and a step ladder. Get rid of both of those, add 2 more nether logs. Suddenly you're able to build that step ladder and that wheelbarrow when you get there. You gained almost 100 points there. That's a far bigger saving. Other savings you can do. Well, along the same sort of line, you may think, oh, okay, so what about here? Copper battle axes, copper picks. Well, for that, you want to look at blocks. Where are they hiding? Metal bars even. There we go. So, a copper bar is 10 points. So yes, you can save money by not bothering with the copper battle axes and the copper picks, but you need to be careful. You can't get any wood until you've made a battle axe, which effectively means you need to bring some coke with you to run your forge. Because if you don't have coke, well, you can't actually produce anything within the forge, so therefore you can't make an axe or a pick. So, although you can save a few points here, because A, you'd have to bring the coke, and B, it's it's another very small saving, I'd recommend not trying to skimp on these. Another area where you can make savings, well, if we look at meat, This is more if you're needing a lot of barrels for whatever reason. Maybe you're planning to make a lot of booze. Well, if you look at this, let's find a good example. Here we go. Prepared mongoose intestines and mongoose meat. Both cost 2 points. Now if we put a single one of those in, we will now have that mongoose meat, prepared mongoose intestines rather, will come in a barrel. A barrel will normally take 1 piece of wood to make. And because there's only 1 piece of meat in there, that's probably going to be, or 1 piece of food in there, that's probably going to be actually consumed relatively quickly. Now the first thing to be aware of here is if we also add, say, some mongoose meat, because it's both mongoose, it can go in the same barrel. So that doesn't really help us. But if we were to go down and also bring some rat meat, that would be a separate barrel, and so on. You know, chameleon brain, another barrel, and so on. So if you need if you want a lot of barrels because you're going to be doing a lot of booze, say, and you're in an area with not much wood, well, you can do that to get yourself a bunch of barrels as soon as the food in them has been eaten. Now, there is another trick to get you a little bit more wood, and that is your actual cart is made of wood. You can demolish it just like any other building, you know, any other workshop, and you get back then the 3 wood it's made of. Now, if you're wondering, the reason why I specifically chose nether cap as my wood to take, well, nether cap is the only wood you can get that is magma safe. What is magma safe, you're wondering? Well, basically you can discover magma in Dwarf Fortress. You need to if you want to do a magma forge, for example, or a magma smelter. But only certain materials are magma safe, which means if you've built a door out of it or a floodgate out of it, it will stop that magma coming through. Or if you had a wheelbarrow made out of it, it wouldn't be destroyed when it fell in it. Or if you had a minecart of it, you can use a minecart built of a magma safe material to actually transport magma. Now nether cap, it costs exactly the same as any other wood, but it's magma safe, so that's why I specifically chose it. Obviously, if you're only taking it specifically to replace things like the wheelbarrows, I mean, I personally don't use wheelbarrows because I find they don't work that well with the quantum storage I tend to do. But if you're only bringing it for that, well, it doesn't matter what the wood is. But if you're wondering, you know, what wood to bring, well, I always bring nether cap because it has that bonus of being magma safe. Now, obviously, some metal bars are also magma safe. Nickel, for example, is, but others are not. Tin is not magma safe. If you have a tin minecart and try and fill it with magma, you'll have a pile of magma in the end. Whereas your nickel minecart, yep, you'll have a minecart with a couple of units of magma in it that you can then tip underneath. If you have 2 of them, tip into a pit, and then bam, you can stick your magma forge on top, and lo and behold, you've got infinite fuel for a forge. It's wonderful. But that's sort of why that particular wood and why it might be useful. One other thing to be careful of. You may look at this and go, ooh, 100 points. I know what, I can save myself a lot of money because it doesn't take many bars to make an anvil. I can get a lot more points if I don't bring an anvil. That is a trap. For one very simple reason. To build a forge, you need an anvil in the first place. Once you've got a forge, you can make as many anvils as you like. But if you don't have that initial anvil, you can't build one. So if you don't take one with you, you're never going to be able to forge anything until either a trader comes with an anvil and you buy it off them, or when a trader comes, you can and you ask them for specific materials, you say anvils, at which point they'll bring some next time, and you'll pay even more for them. So that is the one thing you don't want to skimp on. Likewise, you may think, oh, let's take some, steel. Yes, you can actually get away with taking steel gear, and it may actually prove cheaper in terms of points, because steel bars, 150 points. If we go down to tools, which I think, oh no, it's mining tools is a separate thing for picks. Digging implements even, yeah. Steel picks are 300 points. So effectively you can get a half price steel pick by just taking the steel bar with you. But it's only the sort of thing you can do if you've already... Well, in theory you can do it, but without some of these other tricks. But yes, you've got the option, say, of bringing steel picks, or probably more practically, say, some steel for making steel weaponry with you. Let's see. Steel battle axe is 300 points again. Yeah, so you can get sort of steel gear at half price, and not take any coke, and basically, sort of make your own wood burning furnace to make yourself some initial coke, just to get that initial steel weaponry for to give your military a bit of a leg up at the start. But that's just some tips on what you can do to get yourself more points for more of things. Also, think about what you'll be planting, because if there's some of these you're not planting, you're not interested in, say you're not interested in rock nuts, don't bother bringing them, and bring more of something you are going to be using, like plump helmet spawn, because chances are you're going to want to plant more than 5 at once of them. Even a little small plot, sort of might be 20 squares, which need 20 odd plump helmet spawn. You've just about got that if all 15 of these get eaten raw or turned into drink. But then what do you do the next month if you'll probably end up having to alternate which planting period, sort of spring, summer, etc., because they've been harvested. You're in the next season. You haven't yet gone through the used up your harvest, so you haven't yet got the seeds to plant next time. So you may well want to bump up your number of seeds. But the rest of the stuff, bringing more drink or bringing more food is always obviously useful. And of course you've got animals and the skill points, which we're not covering in this video. But hopefully that's some useful little tips of what you can do to increase your points, so you can bring more of what you want and less of what you don't necessarily need to spend as much on. Anyway, I'll let you all go, and if you've got more tips for embarkation, feel free to stick them down below. Get that out.